Whoa, ho, ho! Sakamoto Days just had its first 2 episodes released, and I gotta say, chef's kiss. With a unique blend of action, comedy, and a surprising hint of, dare I say, some Gintama in there, I am absolutely wowed at how solid and entertaining Sakamoto Days is so far. From the animation and even the writing, there is quite a bit to say about these first 2 episodes of Sakamoto Days. So let's go ahead, jump into the video, but stick around towards the end because we're going to be talking about just so much stuff. I challenge you to get this video to 500 likes and 10 subscribers, and I'll do a stream for this coming Friday. Consider financially supporting me with one of 2 ways: patreon.com/CTactics or through my Gamersupps partner code CTactics, which will get you 10% off GG tubs in both caffeine and caffeine free, and their world famous waifu cups. So since they released the first 2 episodes this week, I'm going to go episode by episode for this, so use the timestamps to skip around where needed. But the series starts with a rather impressive yet simple first episode. We are introduced in an incredibly well animated sequence to Taro Sakamoto. Now, he's not your typical assassin, he's actually the best of the best, and pretty much everyone, enemy or ally, fears him because he is that good. And it's shown as to why he is so feared. He is so good at his job of being an assassin that nobody, even a large group of men, trained men, could hope to do anything to him. This is pretty much the basis of Sakamoto's character, and on that merit alone, he's really cool, but seemingly not anything special. Well, the twist on his character makes him a brilliant character, in my opinion, because one day he simply just fell in love with a girl, and that love made him realize that he underappreciated life's more simple offerings, like romance. Well, this is when Shin Asakura enters into the fray, and the Spy X Family comparisons probably begin for some people. Shin is a telepath and someone who has been sent to deal with Sakamoto since he turned his back on the job and left. You know, classic mafia setup type stuff, right? But instead, what happens is something really interesting. A slice of life. Shin observes the strange life of Sakamoto, and he doesn't quite understand why he would give up a life of killing and choose to get fat, marry Kobeni from Chainsaw Man, and have a kid. But one thing is for certain, seeing this, he believes Sakamoto to be harmless, and when push came to shove, he was forced to go through with killing Sakamoto. Instead, he chooses to go against the organization because obviously he can't kill him anyways, and using his telepathic powers, he basically tries to kill everyone that is trying to kill Sakamoto within the organization. And eventually, he becomes an employee of the Sakamoto store. It's pretty interesting. And honestly, I think many people probably didn't expect the first 2 episodes to release in one day, but the reason being is that it is basically the first episode. You can boil it down to just a couple paragraphs and be done with it. However, it's not like there isn't much to talk about either. I think the character of Sakamoto is quite interesting thus far and serves as a really nice anchor to the plot and for the characters. Now, I have a feeling, oddly enough, Sakamoto will act as a role model for Shin and teach him the warmth of family and appreciating those smaller things in life. Because Shin, he's very young, and when you're young, you want to go out and make the world your oyster and harvest it for all of its pearls. And while that's not a bad thing, you should try to do that as much as possible, especially in this day and age, it's not as if you have to forego things such as family and an appreciation for those smaller things. Now, Sakamoto, I think, has the potential to be a really good role model, even through all of the action sequences as well, and all of the weird things he's done. He's a bad person, but I think he has potential. Because as we see, Sakamoto is really trying to not kill anyone any longer. He's sort of like a Batman thing, crossed with a Kenshin Himura thing of sorts. And that job, you know, it's behind him. And while it threatens to drag him back in, Sakamoto is still trying not to kill anyone if at all possible. He's a pacifist now. And that's a very interesting twist on his character, because I do sense that sometime in the future, heck, we may even get our own Shishio of Sakamoto Days, who tries to bring back the old Sakamoto, much like how Shin tried to in the first episode. Now, as for supporting cast, which is Sakamoto's wife and kid, I actually really like this dynamic thus far. It adds a lot of intrigue to the entire entire plot, as they're the reason Sakamoto is what he is now. So now think about this. What happens when you say capture or threaten the family? Will that bring out the real Sakamoto that the mafia wants back so bad? Will it draw him out so they can kill him or make him irrational? Because what is so compelling is that this is effectively the only weakness of Sakamoto. Being out of shape, out of training, and out of the job for years now couldn't even begin to slow Sakamoto down. For Christ's sakes, the guy pulls off insane feats that should be literally impossible as an old guy past his prime. He's a gigantic fluffy bear of a wall of a man. Well, obviously, go after the kid and his wife if you still can't beat him. Now, by the end of the first episode, I was quite pleased with how the plot has been set up and is moving forward. Shin is employed at the Sakamoto store and is taken under the wing of Sakamoto to learn how to enjoy the good side of peaceful living. In many ways, I sense that this story, being one of not action or protecting family even, but one of, well, really, at the base of it all, healing the heart of youthful ambition and trauma to find what really matters deep down, to find a purpose, which is then when things like family begin to bubble up and we can start talking about that. Basically, Sakamoto is going to teach these kids and guide them on the way from being troubled youths to upstanding citizens. And I like that a lot. He's basically the Toru Honda of shonen, and that's rad as heck. Episode 2, however, I think is the better of the two episodes, or at the very least the most interesting, as it further takes what was shown in episode 1 and builds upon it in a very, well, interesting way. This episode focused on the event that made Sakamoto change his mind on things and give up a life of crime, and we are introduced to our new heroine of the series, Lu Xiaotang. While both are equally compelling characters, I think it's absolutely insane how ridiculous this show can get with some moments. Like, for example, when Sakamoto's wife-to-be told him that she cannot be with him any longer, she, I guess Lewis lanes this railing and jumps over it and nearly dies, until obviously Sakamoto jumps and saves her. This, that was bonkers. Like, why in the hell would she jump from such a height? Was she trying to commit suicide? No, she just poorly judged the height is all. However, what this showed Sakamoto was that despite his own perceived intentions, one thing is true, and that he loves her so dearly that he wants to protect her. Now, this brings us to Aoi herself. She is basically what would happen if Kobeni from Chainsaw Man wasn't crazy and settled down with, like, I don't know, I guess like Aki or something. There isn't much depth to her character, but I do want to bring up that in the dub, she is voiced by professional wrestler Alexa Bliss, which is actually really cool. And before I even begin to hear all of the whining and crying about dubs being bad or wrestling is bad, it's fake, blah, 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 from the AI bots trying to make dead internet theory a reality, shut up, I don't care. I think her overall performance as Aoi was actually good, and the dub itself so far is actually quite good in general, because I watched episode 2 of the show dubbed and episode 1 subbed. Some performances of Aoi are a little stiff at times, but you can really tell that she's got a natural talent for voice acting, which makes sense. Wrestlers tend to have a lot of experience with acting in general. I mean, both in the ring and behind the mic, right? They're acting all the time, so this is a natural fit for her. I honestly think that this could be the gateway for more wrestlers to come over to the VA side of things in the future. I mean, think of how cool it would be to hear Kenny Omega, Kofi Kingston, or heck, even Triple H voicing some anime dubs. And wrestlers' voices are unique, and honestly, let's be real, wrestling is just anime in real life anyway, so it's all a natural fit. Also, read up about Alexa Bliss's story. She's actually really cool. She's dealt with anemia in the past, and she's persevered so much to accomplish a lot. I mean, it's a really cool story to read about. As for Aoi herself, I absolutely love that she is the one wearing the pants of the relationship. Even being a crazy hitman killer, the one thing Sakamoto fears above all else is his wifey. And I get that dynamic, because if your wife is angry at you, then you're just not going to be happy in general, are ya? Gotta treat the missus with respect now. Now let's talk about Lu Xiaotang, and I do apologize for any mispronunciation of any sort. I grew up with a speech impediment, and when I'm a little stressed, I get more stuttery, and oh boy, boy, I am so stressed. Basically, long story short, some of our tenants destroyed the home we were renting out, and now we're really struggling. I'll talk more about that on the live stream if we get to 500 likes and 10 subs, but Lou is actually really awesome. Not only is she yet another cutie like Aoi in the show, but much like Shin, is another one of those troubled youths of sorts. The first we see of her is her falling out of a window onto Sakamoto, crushing his poor food, and running from a bunch of goons. And immediately I understood that Sakamoto days will probably have a strong focus on Sakamoto teaching the younger generations and guiding them, as I mentioned earlier. However, Lou is quite interesting. I sense that Lou may have some sort of romantic involvement with Shin in the future, possibly. Usually I would say something like that would be too forced, not that I'm a hater of love or anything, don't get me wrong here, but it's not typically how I'd see a story like this going. But I think there is a lot of potential to have Sakamoto and Aoi provide a genuine example for both Lou and Shin on how to act and behave and learn it just in general. The reason is because much like Aoi and Sakamoto, Shin and Lou are cut from different cloths. Obviously, Lou doesn't seem to be Japanese and Shin is Japanese. That's one example which you can compare to Aoi and Sakamoto because Aoi is just a regular girl and Sakamoto is a fixture of the seedy underbelly of society. I think that could lean into a really good progression for both Shin and Lou, honestly. Honestly, going into this anime, I think a lot of people were expecting TMS to not do this adaptation well at all, and while I see many people already complaining about it, I think overall this has been an excellent adaptation. I'll see if I can read some of the manga over the weekend and maybe possibly make a comparison video if necessary, because I really like the episodes so far, and honestly, I think the reception so far is pretty good. I think some of the creativity is just really awesome. The fact Sakamoto's fat absorbed some of the impact in fights was really funny, really good use of, well, a character. And when he used cooking utensils to destroy the weapons of the thugs, I mean, that was great too. I think there is a lot of potential for this anime, and while it's okay to be on the fence still, I think even then, all sides can probably agree that, hey, so far, episode 1 and 2 were actually pretty solid. Let me know what you think below. I challenge you to get 500 likes and 10 subscribers on this video. If you do, I will stream this week about my horror story over the past couple of months. As well, hit up Gamersupps and use my partner code to get 10% off all orders, or support me through Patreon. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next Saturday for another Sakamoto days. Bye-bye.